boys and girls, moms and dads who are viewing us live on VC3 and on Facebook. Welcome to My E-Learning online classroom with yours truly, Miss Bacchus. Today, our topic is the digestive system of livestock animals. Now, before we begin, I want us to do a little bit of digestion in humans. Now, I'm not going to do a biology lesson today, but just for you to understand what happens in digestion, we're going to look at the digestive system in human beings. Now, does anybody know what is digestion? I'm listening. Well, some of you have it correct, but digestion is the process where we take in complex food into our bodies and we break it down into the smallest possible molecule so that we can absorb it into our bodies and we can get the nutrients from it that we need in order to grow, develop, and to get the essential nutrients we need for different functions in our bodies. Now, animals take in complex food system, animals also take in complex food substances, and they also have to break it down in order to get the nutrients that they need from these foods, okay? Most of you will know that digestion starts at your mouth, so that is where you put your food in your mouth, and you would chew, which is physical process, it's mechanical, so we break down the food with the teeth in our mouth, and then there are enzymes in our mouth called salivary amylase, which breaks down the starch to simple sugars. Most of the time, the simple sugar is glucose, but we can have a little fructose in between. That's fine. So we are ingesting these foods. Your teeth is going to chew it up a little bit, and then it's going to form a bolus. Now, looking at this lovely diagram, isn't it beautiful? Yes. We are seeing that peristalsis, or a wave-like motion, is happening from the mouth, and the food is rolled into a bolus, and it goes down your esophagus, and from your esophagus, it enters your stomach. Now, once the food is in your stomach, it would be acted on by hydrochloric acid and pepsin, which begins the breakdown of protein to amino acids. And then the food will eventually leave the stomach after some time, and it would go into the first part of the small intestine, which is known as the duodenum, and here it would be enzymes would act on it to break down fats, to break down more starch, and to break down protein. From the small intestine, foods would then travel to the large intestine, where water would be absorbed from the large intestine, and undigested food would be passed out of the anus. Good? So let's get two things clear. Food goes in your mouth, comes out your anus. Good? Lovely. So we're doing well so far. Now, that is just the standard process of digestion. However, in livestock animals, it's a little bit different, and for each animal, there's a little tweak to the digestive system because God did not make us all the same. So let's look a little bit at the digestive system of different animals quickly. So when it comes to livestock animals, we have two groups of animals. There are ruminants, such as the cattle, the goat, the sheep. A giraffe is also a ruminant if you didn't know. A deer, buffalo. And then we have non-ruminant animals like your pig, your poultry, your rabbits, your horses, your dogs, and these are all non-ruminant animals. So first, I want us to look at digestion in ruminants. Yes, exciting stuff we have here today. Now, I wanted to bring a cattle to show you all the digestive system, but it wouldn't have fit in this very small classroom. So we have to use our imagination today. So let's look at a diagram of our cattle. Oh yes, isn't it a beautiful cattle? Look at how nice and tall it stands. Beautiful cattle. Now, the reason why these animals, cattle, goat, and sheep, are called ruminants is for two particular reasons. One, they chew their cud. Means that they would eat, chew, swallow, and then large pieces of food that were not broken down by the teeth properly would be regurgitated back into the mouth of the cattle, and the cattle will begin chewing again. Goats do the same thing, sheep does the same thing. The other reason why they are called ruminants are because they have 4 stomachs. Oh my, imagine a cattle having 4 stomachs. That's a lot of food that the cattle has to eat to fill up all 4 stomachs. So that's digestion in our cattle. The first stomach is called the rumen, and it's the largest stomach, the rumen. Yes, so the rumen is the largest stomach in the cattle, and here is where the first set of food would go. The animal would chew it up and then regurgitate, take the big pieces of grass, bite it up again, swallow it. Whatever big pieces are in the rumen would come back up, and the process would repeat itself. Now, one important thing that I want our 5th form students to remember is that when it comes to the cattle in the rumen, there's an important thing that happens. There are cellulose digesting bacteria that is found in the rumen that are responsible for breaking down the fibrous material and the grass with the amount of cellulose in it. Now, on its own, the cattle cannot digest the grass. It cannot digest the cellulose at all. But with the cellulose digesting bacteria, the bacteria acts on the grasses and it helps to break it down. Now, the wonderful thing about cattle is that they can also have other microorganisms synthesizing protein in the stomach of the animal. So the animal doesn't have to eat a large variety of food. It can eat grasses, simple grasses, and obtain almost all the nutrients it needs because of these microorganisms and the ability of them to produce and to break down the foods properly. So, 1, we have cellulose digesting bacteria, which breaks down the cellulose in grasses. 2, we have protein synthesizing bacteria, which uses non-protein nitrogen from the mineral licks and convert it to protein into a form that the cattle can use. And we also have bacteria in the rumen that can manufacture vitamin B complex. So the cattle's stomach is an incredible organ. Okay? Then we have the second stomach, which is the reticulum. Now, the reticulum, the small pieces of food that are digested, or I should say that are broken up properly from the rumen, would go into the reticulum. Good? So it would transfer the small pieces into the reticulum, and then what the reticulum will do is act as a strainer to remove foreign material. So if there are any foreign material that is not supposed to be in the body of the cattle, the reticulum would strain it. Okay? Then we have the omasum. This is the third stomach. The omasum receives the cuds from the mouth and it squeezes out the liquid. Now, where does this liquid come from? Well, the thing is, when a cattle is chewing, it produces a large amount of saliva. A lot of saliva. So because it produces so much saliva, this saliva helps to neutralize some of the acid that is in the stomach of the animal. So what happens now is that the omasum will try to squeeze out some of that water, squeeze out some of that saliva, so that what you have is just the material to be digested. Then we have the abomasum. Now, the abomasum is what is known as the true stomach. The reason why we call it the true stomach is because in the abomasum, we have the hydrochloric acid and we also have the pepsin that helps to work on the protein to break it down. Okay? Now, I just want to show you a little something on the board so that you would not forget. Please, it is necessary that you write it down. We're going to look at the different enzymes that we have. So we have 4 main enzymes that we're going to look at, and we're going to see what substance they act on to break down. So we have one, salivary amylase. And salivary amylase breaks down starch to glucose. We have pepsin, which breaks down protein to amino acids. And amino acids are the smallest form or smallest molecule of protein. We have lipase, or some people say lipase, which breaks down fat into fatty acids and glycerol. And the last one we have is trypsin, which also breaks down protein to amino acids. Good? So this is something, these are the enzymes that are found in the digestive system. Lovely. Wonderful stuff we have happening here today. Okay, now in the cattle, as long as the food reaches the stomach and you have the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin acting on it, then from there it would enter the small intestine, and your biology teacher would have taught you that in the small intestine there are villi or villus, right, that absorbs the food or help the active transport of food from the small intestine into the bloodstream of whether it's an animal or a human being. Good? And then it goes to the large intestine, and then all the green grass you see would come out of the cattle through the anus, and you would see it on the grass, you would see it in the pasture, and you say, wow, mommy, look at that. Isn't God wonderful? All right, next animal is the pig. Now, the pig is a special animal, but it's a lot like human beings, and the reason for that is because pigs are called monogastric animals. Monogastric animals. Let me see if I find a space on the board here. And the reason why we call them monogastric is because it only has one stomach. Just like human beings. Monogastric, one stomach. Now, digestion is very similar to human beings as it is in pigs, but there is one factor to look at. So in the pig, you see the diagram, we have the mouth, the teeth, the tongue, okay, it goes into the esophagus, into the stomach. You have the pancreas and the liver. You have the gallbladder. Now, the gallbladder is responsible for producing what is called bile, and bile helps to emulsify fat in your diet, right? Now, from the stomach, it goes into the large intestine, absorption, but then we are noticing something different here with the pig. Between the small intestine and the large intestine is an organ that is called the cecum. Are you seeing it? Yes. There's a cecum. Now, a cecum is the only organ that differs human beings to the pig's digestive system. Now, what is the function of the cecum, miss? What is the function of the cecum? Now, the cecum is an organ that has microorganisms in it. And what do these microorganisms do? Can anybody guess? Well, it helps to break down grass, or it helps to break down cellulose that the pig may have eaten. Because remember, pigs eat, I don't want to say almost anything, but pigs eat a lot of everything. Okay? So, because of that, the cecum is there to help break down cellulose material, right? And this cellulose material cannot be digested by the stomach or by the small intestine because there are no enzymes to break down the grass and to break down the cellulose. So in the cecum, the bacteria that are living there would break down the cellulose material and then it would be absorbed and used up by the pig. Then it goes to the large intestine and the waste food goes out to the anus. Good? So far so good? Are we going well? Lovely. Everybody is understanding? If you have any question, raise your hand. I'm right here. I'll explain it for you. All right. Okay, then we're going to look at digestion in the bird or digestion in poultry. Now, the bird has a lot of different organs that are not the same, or I should say that are not found in neither pig, nor cattle, nor human beings. So, let's look at this lovely fowl. Ooh, it looks just like the one that laid an egg under the house this morning. Yes, beautiful chicken that is. So here we have the fowl. Now, the first thing about a chicken or about a fowl or a poultry is that it does not have teeth. So what happened is that the bird would pick up the food with its beak. There is no teeth and it swallows it just like that. Then it goes down the esophagus and enters the crop. Now the crop is an elongated part of the esophagus and the food is usually stored in the crop until it is ready to go into the stomach. Okay? When the next thing I want you to note is that the stomach is made up of two organs in the fowl. The first part is the proventriculus, and the second part is the gizzard. You ever hear your granny say she like gizzard for the fowl? Yes, well, that's what we're talking about. Now, the proventriculus is a lot like the true stomach because it has the acids in it and it contains some enzymes that help to break down the food. And then the food will go from the proventriculus into the gizzard, and in the gizzard is where all the action is happening. So the gizzard has a set of muscles in it, and the muscles contract and relax along with some small stones that the bird may have eaten previously, and this helps to grind the food up. So basically the gizzard is like the teeth of the fowl, right? It's like the teeth of the fowl, and it helps to break up the food and grind the food up into very small pieces. Now from the gizzard, the food goes into the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. And if you would look carefully, you will see that the bird also has two ceca, right? Which is one cecum and two cecum. But plural, one cecum, two ceca. Good? So remember that birds eat, they would eat almost anything as well. And the ceca that is there would help to break down any cellulose material again. Remember that the ceca has microorganisms in it that help to break down cellulose. Then what is so special about the bird is we have an organ that is called the caloca, right? Some people have different pronunciations for it. It's one opening, good, and that one opening is responsible for passing feces, passing urine, and laying the egg. It is also, is responsible for the function of reproduction. So yes, what a bird. That is digestion in the bird. Then we have digestion in rabbits. Oh yes, fuzzy little rabbits. I hear some people say they prefer guinea pigs to rabbits, but rabbits are so nice and fluffy and so pretty. And I know a lot of you have rabbits rearing. But we're going to find out some interesting stuff about the rabbit today. So here we have a beautiful picture with a rabbit. Now rabbits are herbivores, just like ruminants, But the thing is with rabbits, we call them pseudo-ruminant because it is not a ruminant and it has a simple stomach, right? Now, the rabbit is a pseudo-ruminant, as I said before, but it does not chew its cud, nor does it have a rumen. However, it does depend on microbial activity to help break down the food and to help it to be able to digest its materials. Now, the reason for that is this. So yes, we're looking at the rabbit. It has the teeth, it has the esophagus, it has the stomach, the liver, the pancreas. Yes, it has the small intestine, it has the large intestine. But I am looking at something there that is very, very protruding. I shouldn't say protruding, but it's there, it's very pronounced. And here we see it has a very large cecum. Yes. Now, let me explain something to you. When the rabbit eats the grass, when it is passing through the stomach and the small intestine, because it's eating grass and it contains a lot of cellulose, there is no bacteria before the stomach and before the small intestine that helps to break down the cellulose. So whatever is passing through the small intestine does not get absorbed until it reaches the cecum. Now, when it reaches inside the cecum, you have the bacteria that is inside it that is going to work on the cellulose and break it down so that the animal can get its nutrients. But the sad thing is that by the time the cecum is finished digesting the food, it goes straight into the large intestine. Now, in the large intestine, there's no absorption of nutrients. There's only absorption of water. So what is the rabbit going to do? All the nutrients have been, broken down by the cecum and stuff like that, and it goes straight to the large intestine and out the anus. Oh my goodness, how is the rabbit really going to feed? Well, the rabbit basically goes through a very interesting process. That process is called cecotrophy. Some people call it coprophagy. And that is where, when the cecum breaks down the material using the microorganisms, the food that is there with all the nutrients passes out the large intestine, passes out the anus as soft pellets. And guess what the rabbit does? It eats the pellets. Eats the soft pellets, yes, that comes out of its anus. Oh my goodness, yes. So early in the morning, it will, let out the soft pellets and then the rabbit would eat it. Interesting stuff. It's called coprophagy or cecotrophy. Yes. And then what would happen now, when the rabbit eats these soft pellets, whatever is ingested has the nutrients, and so as it passes from the stomach into the small intestine, the nutrients is able to be absorbed and the animal can get the nutrients it needs in order to grow and develop. Okay? So, and then what comes out after is hard pellets. The animal does not eat the hard pellet. Okay? It's just the soft one they eat. They don't eat the hard ones. All right, so that is digestion for you in a nutshell. We touched a little bit about digestion in humans. We looked at digestion in ruminants, digestion in pig, in poultry, and in rabbits. And please make sure that when you are studying, you look at the diagrams. You are able to know the parts of your digestive system for each animal, because many times, I don't know if the camera can get this, many times they send past paper questions to you. Oh, look at that, it's a bird. And as you can see, the question asks to label the parts identified as X and as Y. Can you guess what X is? Well, if you guess the crop, you are correct. And can you guess what is Y? If you said ceca or cecum, you are correct yet again. And this was 2017's past paper. And look at this now, right? Then we have another past paper here. And look, you see, they brought back the same diagram and they brought back X again. What is X? The crop. Very good. And below we have the cattle. It says label Y. What is Y? That looks like the largest stomach, and the largest stomach in the cattle is the rumen. Yes, the rumen. So remember the four stomachs, please: the rumen, reticulum, the omasum, and the abomasum. Okay, so that is it for today. We had a lovely session. Don't get too hungry because we were talking about food. Okay, moms and dads, have a great day. Students, remember exam time is coming up, so keep abreast of what is happening. Remember to study, look at your diagrams, study them properly, and see you next time in agriculture class, where we will do something else on our lovely livestock animals. Have a great day.